Hi, I'm Emily. I filed bankruptcy 5.5 years ago and I'm in $95,000 worth of debt.
Credit card haul as I go through all of my credit cards.
Hi, my name is Seraphine. I'm filing for bankruptcy. I just turned 29 years old and I have $65,000 in credit card debt.
So, with the updated stats of the average credit card debt per person in the US going up to $6,500, on top of the average interest rate of 22%, there's no wonder why there are so many videos uploaded every single day online talking about how much debt people are in. Whether it's from reckless spending on new trends, whatever they want or desire, or the increase in costs of everyday necessities, it's all the same to these credit card companies, and people are really drowning. We have a lot to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos, so if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with a very interesting debt breakdown.
We're going to tell you how many dollars we owe at 23 years old. We owe $40,204.70 on my dues.
So $20,159.74 on my truck.
He had a career change years ago. We owe $4,013.04 from a loan that we took to transition. We owe $58.11 on my Capital One card. I just forget I have that actually. I used to have a boutique and I did inspired stuff. That went really bad. China did me really dirty. So we owe $4,771.95 from refunds I had to send. That comes out to a grand total of $32,207.54.
Okay, so right off the bat, the $58 in Capital One credit card debt, which is much smaller than anything on this list, I think it should just be paid off in full, even though I guess she just ended up forgetting about that credit card. But the boutique she had with the inspired items, I think is particularly interesting. It kind of sounds like to me she was getting AliExpress or Temu level quality crap and trying to mark up the prices very heavily at her own business. Or another thing that I've come to find out online, when people have inspired clothing or shoes, really any sort of item, that's just another way to say that they're fake, they're counterfeit. So I don't know if that was the case. Instead of buying some AliExpress stuff and trying to resell it, maybe she was trying to get away with selling counterfeit items and got almost $5,000 worth of refunds because of that. Very odd way to start off this video, but we have a screenshot here. Tell me how much debt you're in so I'll feel better about how much I'm in. With the first comment not being a great start. If you're not in debt, you're not living. $100,000 in vehicles, $220,000 on the house, and about $25,000 on credit cards. The creator responded to that saying that's not that bad. $100,000 in debt from vehicles alone, on top of the $25,000 in credit cards. I know people think about mortgage debt much differently than the vehicle loans or the credit cards, but still, how is that not bad? Debt that stresses me out, $42,000. Overall, $90,000. One that just says $400,000 even, $52,000 in student loans, a $572,000 mortgage. That's a pretty expensive house. But we could go over to another clip showing a breakdown of what this person is buying almost every day and just chipping away at their finances.
All right, who's ready to see my unhinged credit card transactions for the last month? This will kind of give you an idea of why I'm in debt. Since it is August 21st, we are going back to July 21st to look at the transactions from then. So we have Barnes & Noble, Chick-fil-A, Albertsons, which is a grocery store, McDonald's, healthcare copay, another grocery trip, Domino's. I wish I could tell you why we spent $40.99 on Domino's of all places. It's a really cheap place to get pizza. No clue. It's just me and my husband, nobody else. Moving on. Next up, we're looking at Wendy's. We got a drive-in movie theater, the tickets and the snacks. We have Pizza Hut, DoorDash, and Chipotle. Seeing a theme here? Also, holy crap, $54.40 at Pizza Hut. Actually, Pizza Hut's kind of expensive sometimes, so I totally get it. Good Lord, we're not even in August yet.
I'm cutting off this clip here. There is 4 more minutes of this video. The amount of fast food and grocery trips, along with random little items chipping away every single day, looks insane to me. This is a pretty extreme example compared to other people, but still, maybe a $10, $15, or $25 purchase on Amazon isn't going to break your bank. But if you start doing that very consistently and not noticing the money racking up, this kind of spending can hurt you in the long run. We have a set of screenshots here, how I got into 20 25,000 pounds worth of debt, consistently eating out when there was no budget, very similar to the last clip. Ever since moving into my own home, I buy rubbish. B&M is my downfall. I can't help myself. I'm not exactly sure what that store is, but it kind of sounds like TJ Maxx and Home Goods, Marshalls, all of that, because the next slide is a lot of those random trinkets, especially holiday themed. Working is another downfall. I never take pack lunches, always meal deals. Starbucks treats, 5+ pounds every couple of days, racks up, that's what I just said. Spontaneous trips away because we can, on whose money? And another one of my downfalls, Klarna and BNPL loans. I use them all the time and it's a never-ending cycle. That's probably how they're going on spontaneous trips as well. Once I'd maxed out one credit card, I would just get another. Oh man, it's a vicious cycle of balance transfers, loans to consolidate debt, and then spending again. And I know some people are doing exactly this just to be able to survive right now. But constantly going out to eat, spontaneous trips, constantly redecorating your house every time a holiday is coming up is just absolutely destroying people's finances. And we've seen examples since I started making videos on this channel.
What did I spend my money on to be so much in debt? A lot of people have asked me this question, so I'm going to answer it now. Predominantly, most of my money went on gambling. And it's not like the bookies gambling. I spent a lot of money in a game that I used to play. I'm not going to discuss what game it was. But yeah, I spent a lot of money playing a game. I also spent a lot of money on like the in-app bingo slots. That went on for literally years, probably 5 years. Until I maxed out one of my credit cards basically. So that's when I had to use my other credit card to pay off the one I maxed out, which then started this big spiral.
I mean, this was a different way to max out her credit cards, but a very similar situation compared to the last example. This one, however, she is a picture-perfect example of what they call a whale in the gaming industry. Those in-app purchases that are, again, a few dollars, 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks maybe, just add up so quickly, and with gambling on top of it, bingo, all the money that you put in could disappear almost instantly just because you're playing those types of games. This happens with so many apps and games across the board now. It doesn't just have to be gambling. Most of them are called gacha games, but it does become a vicious cycle and very addicting, so much so that you're maxing out credit cards like this person. But keeping on the topic of addictions, we have yet another one right here.
I went into $7,000 of credit card debt because of food addiction. Let's talk about it. When I was living down in Florida, I owned my own home and I rented out 2 of the bedrooms. Because my renters were obviously paying me, I was able to use that money to cover my Wi-Fi, my electric, my water, and my lot rent. In addition to that income, I was also working as a front desk receptionist at a nursing home. Now, in hindsight, I should have taken my extra money and put it into savings, but obviously, like any other addiction, food consumed all of my thoughts and all of my money. I opened up a credit card with a $5,000 limit and made the monthly payments of $40 a month. In addition to that, I had a second credit card with a $2,000 limit, and I believe the monthly payment on that was about $35 a month. Now, don't get me wrong, I always kept up with all of my payments because I did not want to mess up my credit score. However, during that time, I was living above my means and eating out for almost every single meal.
Okay, so that did confuse me a little bit. $7,000 maxed out 2 cards that she was paying the minimum payments on both of them, which means the interest is accruing every single day, making the whole situation worse. But she thought that everything was okay. She was making on-time minimum payments, not paying it off in full, and her credit would be completely fine. But even having a job and people living in her house paying her rent couldn't offset the $7,000 worth of food. That is a crazy amount of money to spend eating out every day.
So when I was in network marketing, I had over 70K of credit card debt. Yikes. But let me tell you what got me to that point of 70K in debt. There was a point where I was making like 20 to 30K a month. And then all of a sudden that started dropping to like 5K a month. But my spending habits remained the same. And I remember talking to like one of my uplines and she was like, you gotta spend money to make money. And I took that so to heart and I spent money and enough to get me into 70K of debt. How unhinged was I?
Yet another example we've seen of lifestyle creep, along with the kind of guru mindset. If you've seen a lot of these motivational money guys online, you got to spend money to make money, blah, blah, blah. Go put a down payment on a Lamborghini you can't afford, so it forces you to work harder, all of that kind of crap. On top of her salary not being consistent, thinking that you're going to make $20,000 or $30,000 a month forever, and then just a few months later, it's a fraction of what it was, but you're still spending like you're making $250,000 a year. One of the comments here, in a 4-year span, I spent almost $30,000 because if I just kept going, I would make it back. I finally had to say this is enough and walked away. Now we could get into the vacation portion of this video and how much debt people get in to be able to travel and get away from all their problems, but as soon as they come back home, their situation's even worse.
My red flag is that I will be crying, having a panic attack over money, and 2 minutes later, I will be planning a new vacation.
Same, I was looking at Alaskan cruises today. My mental health quite literally depends on having a vacation to look forward to in some capacity. I don't care how much money I have, LMAO. Does not sound like a life that I'd want to live. Me drowning financially just looked up flights to NYC, and somehow I rationalized that I could make it work. I mean, there are hundreds of comments like this. But we could take a look at a clip with the consequences of thinking this way.
I'm going to start a series talking about some of the most impulsive purchases that we have made that led to $89,000 in credit card debt. My husband used to travel a lot for work. There was one time that our schedules were finally going to line up. He was able to take a week off of work and I had a break from school, and we wanted to go on a vacation. Mind you, we had no money to go on a vacation. We started looking at all kinds of different options, and the one that we ended up landing on was to go to Disneyland. Again, we did not have the money to do this, so what did we do? We applied for a new credit card because the ones that we had at the time were already maxed out. So we applied for a new credit card, got approved. I think that it was like $5,000, I really can't remember, but we got approved and we planned the whole Disney vacation on that credit card. Maxed it out. Here we are 10 years later, still paying for it.
I just recently made a dedicated video talking about Disney vacation debt that I could honestly turn into a series because of how many examples I've seen online. They still decide to go even though they don't have any money, just take out another credit card, put thousands on that. And literally 10 years later, you're still trying to pay it off. That does not seem worth it to me. People that use credit cards without a plan to pay it off ASAP is wild to me. Adults going to Disneyland is wild. Applying for a credit card for Disneyland is wild. Everything's wild in this comments section. I'm relieved I'm not the only impulsive queen out there. 10 years of paying off that debt for one single vacation. Another video up on screen right now, little travel hack that I've learned. You could spend a lot of money on credit cards, but you only need to pay back a very small minimum per month. Literally almost spent $30,000 this month already, and I only need to pay back $80 for this month. So this kind of sounds like the earlier example of the person thinking that they were making on-time payments with $7,000 in credit card debt because they were paying the minimum payments, but the interest is accruing every single day, 20 to 30% as well. And that's how $7,000 could turn into $15,000, $20,000 and a decade to pay off. At least in this example, much longer. Ah yes, only a short 27 years to pay that off. Wait, so are they wrong or not? People genuinely don't know. Others think credit cards are legitimately free money, as if somebody else would just pay for your expenses for no reason. I know it sounds ridiculous to most people, but some just don't have any financial literacy at all. It's not like they're doing it on purpose to destroy their lives. They just never learned any of this ever. Another clip up on screen from a wannabe influencer. When none of my Italy content has gone viral, so the credit card debt that I thought the creator fund would pay for is just actually debt. So now we got people banking on their content paying for their lifestyle before they're even influencers or have seen really any of that type of money come in whatsoever. And now you're just stuck with a whole bunch of credit card debt. Here we have a set of screenshots rating different ways I put myself into credit card debt. Our wedding day, about $6,000 in debt. I wish we saved up the money instead, but marrying my husband was the best day of my life. And even though, of course, $6,000 is a lot of money, we've gone over people in $60,000, $100,000 for their wedding debt. So in comparison, this isn't really that bad. Of course, the better choice would have been to not be in debt whatsoever because of this, but we can move on to the next one. This camper that I put on a Chase credit card for $2,500. We sold it last summer for $1,700. I don't even want to know how much I spent in interest on this thing. It would probably be pretty rough, but a trip to Disney in 2021. I booked it for my husband's 30th. Our options were limited because we didn't have a passport, and she rated it 1 out of 10. A closet full of clothes I never wear. -5 out of 10. Wasteful, stupid, and not worth the money spent on interest. Clothes are particularly odd to me, at least in my experience with the trends, and I always seem to wreck or get stains, rips, tears on any of my clothing pretty consistently, so there is no need for me to spend a lot of money on really anything that I wear because I know it's going to get wrecked. Now we have a comment from one of you guys from my previous credit card debt video. My sister's declared bankruptcy 4 times, my brother twice. So we have a little update from an older video we watched of somebody who got into a whole bunch of debt, declared bankruptcy, and is now back into that same type of debt.
Hi, I'm Emily. I filed bankruptcy 5.5 years ago and I'm in $95,000 worth of debt. A lot of people are going to hate on me. Oh, you filed bankruptcy and then you got yourself back into this position. Yes, it was very easy. The amount of credit card offers after we filed was insane. And we got them so that we could better our credit. And anyway, we like to eat out a lot. We are on day 8 of not eating out. I made Alfredo for dinner. It's sad that it took this long for me to finally discover that we have an eating out problem. I've always known that we have, and the amount, I mean, it's probably $200 to $400 a week at minimum of just eating out. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I can't be alone. I know there's got to be somebody out there that eats out a lot.
Okay, so I guess we have a theme for this credit card debt video. Everybody's going out to eat, spending a crazy amount of money, $400 a week. And you just had to know in the back of your mind that this was a poor choice, declaring bankruptcy previously and just racking up the debt one after another right after it happened. Some of the comments, $95,000 in debt. Is this in cars or something else or just straight credit card debt? I believe in the last clip they bought at least one car, maybe it was 2 vehicles, so it is a good amount of debt there. But if you're hitting the restaurants and spending $400 a week, that's going to rack up very quickly. If you watch Caleb Hammer, he'll always say that if you file bankruptcy without fixing the problem, you'll end up in the same spot. That's the exact reason why I don't like when people say they'll just file for bankruptcy. They hit the reset button. If you don't learn anything and you act like you just got away with it all, you're just going to get yourself into the exact same position again. Another comment from you guys, I don't even know how you could get into that kind of debt twice. Here in Germany, once you went bankrupt at least once, you'll never get another credit card, car rental, or even a non-prepaid carrier contract for at least the next 10 years. And that is a stark contrast compared to the last clip saying that she was getting credit cards in the mail almost instantly after filing for bankruptcy. These credit card companies do not care. We'll talk about them a little bit later. If they could get you back on the spending habit with their card right after you went bankrupt, that's just an easy way for them to start collecting interest payments on somebody who has a problem. But we could take a look at a couple clips with people believing that credit cards are just free money.
You use Apple Pay, honestly, just be so careful. This is a little embarrassing to admit, but if this could help one person, then I'm really willing to share what my experience was. I'm just gonna lay it out like this. When you use Apple Pay, that's real money.
The comments section is great. She thought that Apple Pay meant Apple Pays. Apple Pay isn't just apples. Almost 200,000 likes on that comment alone. A ton of reaction images as well. And even if you think that this was bait just for engagement, there are legitimately a ton of people that think that this is actually the case.
Your life is bad and you have $45,000 of debt.
Why would they give me credit cards if they don't want me to use them? They give me access to free money.
Why would they want you to use them? Put yourself in their shoes.
Because they want me to use it to spend money.
No, but why? Why would they want to?
So they make money.
There you go. They're making money, which means you're losing money.
But I'm still getting my purchases at the end of the day.
You are getting your purchases, and if that's all that matters to you, then go f*** up your life. That's okay. That is your choice.
It's not that.
You can live whatever life you want to live. I will accept it. I'm willing to help those that want to be helped. Do you want to be helped? Do you want the budget? Do you want the chance for a better life?
Yeah.
There's honestly just some people you can't help. Some of the comments here, keep in mind that that girl works at a bank. Are you kidding me? Caleb just looks defeated for a second there. I know that watching these types of videos, whether it's the TikToks or YouTube videos, has helped people I've seen in the comment section, but I don't know, some people are truly just a lost cause.
Right now, credit scores are falling at the fastest pace since the Great Recession. The latest national average FICO score dropped 2 points this year, and that is the most since 2009. FICO also found that more and more borrowers are also falling behind on both their car and their personal loans, along with their credit cards. Younger Americans, unfortunately, getting hit with a double whammy. They are facing high student debt and low entry-level hiring.
Now, all of these issues are compounding on each other, and if you're one of the people facing these problems, you start looking it up online, and because of that, you're going to start getting targeted ads on sponsored posts, TikTok, really any social media site. While looking up clips for this video, I started getting hounded by this particular company. Simple Lending, I've never heard of them before, but we have a clip up on screen right now. POV, I was so deep in credit card debt that I had only $52 left in my account, and the debt was piling up. I really don't know what to do. Then I found Simple Lending and I was saved, right? Then a whole bunch of text, interest rates starting at just 5.9%. Starting, that's not going to be the case for you. Borrow up to $100,000. We'll just move right over to the comment section. Just got approved, $275, 55% APR for 467 months. Yeah, and what's the payment? 21% interest? That's worse than a credit card. It's a loan. These are basically payday loans. And the more you look this up, the more these posts are going to start showing up. POV, when you know you have terrible credit and you try to use Simple Lending to apply for an $800,000+ loan? No credit check, low interest rates, yeah, sure. Funds in 24 to 48 hours. They did a credit check and didn't approve me. Didn't approve me. Right, I got a $6 billion loan. Don't do it. So this is how they start roping people in who don't know that this is a payday loan, basically. And yeah, maybe you will get approved for a few $1,000s and you could pay off that credit card debt. But even that high interest sitting at 20 or 30% is a lot better than the previous comment at 55% APR. And that's how your situation gets a whole lot worse. These payday loan places, credit card companies do not care about you. We have a comment from one of you guys. I was canceling a credit card. The guy on the phone wouldn't let up trying to get me to keep it. I told him I was going on a 20-month Christian mission to Borneo and would be off grid. He had no comeback. Card canceled. That was from a previous example that we've seen of somebody saying the wildest story they could think of to one of these credit card companies when they were trying to cancel, because they'll just keep saying over and over, trying to sell you deal after deal just to keep the card. But if you start sounding insane to them on the phone, they'll end up canceling it and you won't have to deal with it anymore. But in this next clip, you can really see how these credit card companies think about you.
You might be a credit card deadbeat and not even realize, but that's actually a good thing. A credit card deadbeat is someone who pays off their credit card balances in full each month, avoiding any interest charges or fees. If you're thinking that sounds like the opposite of a deadbeat, you'd be right, but not if you ask the credit card companies. This healthy financial habit is way less profitable for issuers that earn billions on late fees and missed payments.
So if you're not consistently bleeding money on interest payments, these companies are going to call you a deadbeat. They're not here to help you like it seemed with these Simple Lending ads. All they want is to be able to take as much money from you as humanly possible. But we could go over to another set of screenshots. Everyone's telling me that I make bad financial choices. Bachelor's by 21, $35,000 worth of debt. Masters adding on yet another $25,000. Furnished my apartment $10,000 in credit card debt. A dream car at 22, another $20,000 worth of debt, a Kia. In total sitting at $90,000. Dream car and Kia can't be in the same sentence. It's okay, bestie, I'm $400,000 in debt at 19. Zero in assets and nothing to show for it. Now work 60 years and make those payments and never invest. More debt, instant gratification. But mom, I want it now. I know that this is supposed to be a funny comment, but this is legitimately how some people think now. But staying on the topic of buying your dream car, especially when you're young, this kind of stuff could really hurt your possible choices in the future.
So I'm talking to this guy who has a $1,200 car payment, who wants to buy a house. And I think his parents really did a disservice to him. They really messed him up. He explains to me that he's thinking about buying a house, and can I go over the numbers with him? And I'm like, yeah. And we start discussing his situation. And we talk about his credit, and he explains he has pretty good credit, but he does have this really large car payment. I was like, how much is the payment? He's like, it's $1,200. I'm like, okay. Next we go on to his income, and now he's telling me his income is about $50,000 a year. So I'm thinking to myself, this is a massive payment for his income. And I was like, did you have any problems getting that car loan? Did you just go in there and they gave it to you, no problem? He goes, no, I had a lot of issues getting the car loan. In fact, in order to actually get the loan, I had to get my parents to co-sign for me, and then I got it, no problem. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, would I co-sign for my kid to get a $1,200 car loan that made $50,000 a year? I don't think I would.
But I can almost guarantee it's the same situation as the last example. It was my dream car. Oh, I absolutely need it. And within just a few years, a new model or a facelift version will come out, and maybe it's more horsepower, looks nicer, and then that becomes the dream car. The one that you're currently paying $1,200 a month for, you don't want anymore. Another interesting part in the video was talked about in the comments section. How do you buy a house these days making $50,000 a year? That's definitely becoming more and more difficult now. He's driving his mortgage payment. After taxes, he's making $39,000, $14,400 for car payments, not including insurance as well. He'd have about $2,000 left a month. Can't buy anything. He'd still have other bills to pay, of course, food, groceries, the utility bills that would go on top of the mortgage. There's no way they'd be able to afford it.
Take this as your sign, especially if you are like young as don't get that credit card. So I'm currently dealing with a lawsuit, partake on myself, but I recently got into the National Debt Relief Program, and I've been doing that, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. But this is your sign. Don't get that credit card, bro. Don't get it. You don't need it. Just make your money and use your day-to-day money. You don't need that credit card. I do not need this credit card. Yes, it did pay for a little bit of my school and then my like school kit thing that I had to buy, but other than that, it's just been collecting interest. I haven't been able to pay because I've been unemployed, and now that I am employed, I decided to get on this national debt relief thing. But yeah, don't get that credit card, bro. You don't need it.
And it also sounded like she was getting sued by the credit card company. That has become more common recently as well. Of course, if you've racked up tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt, these credit card companies are going to want their money back. But we've seen examples of them suing people for as little as like $400 or $800. It almost seems petty to me for how much money they actually make as a corporation, but that doesn't take away the fact that you're currently getting sued because of your debt, and you're going to have to go through all of that mess. This happened to me when I was 18 and COVID began. My credit tanked for years afterwards. But we'll finish off this video with a little bit of de-influencing.
Okay, these are things that I normalized during debt and like when I was accumulating debt and racking up my debt that now that I'm not in that like headspace anymore, these are things that like I realize now are not normal and you should not do. And this one deserves its whole own video because I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but it is like every month when I was in debt, or I'm still in debt, but like every month when I wasn't serious about paying it off, I would pretend I was serious and like get out a spreadsheet or like make a little write down all my debts and like the monthly payments and like how much money each month and like when they were due, and like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do all this and this is my plan, and then I would not stick to that plan. The plan would go out the window. And then in a month, I'd be like, oh my God, what happened last month? Like, oh, you didn't do anything. You didn't stick to this plan that you wrote out. And then the cycle would continue. I would make a new plan. The debt snowball and like all the shit. Like, I would not stick to the plan whatsoever. The plan was purely for me to feel better about it at the moment and not actually do anything.
So I think this happens sometimes while posting videos on TikTok talking about your debt. Maybe somebody has $10,000 worth of debt, and then you go to the comment section and there's a whole bunch of people saying, that's nothing. I got $50, $100, $200,000 worth of debt. And then you start thinking to yourself that, yeah, you know what? $10,000 worth of debt isn't that bad. You start losing the motivation, and then it gets a little bit worse each month. So sticking to this type of plan of budgeting and having discipline is extremely important trying to pay off your debt.
I have $6,300 in minimum payments. You heard that right. $6,340-ish net take home, minus the 2 months of the year that I get an extra paycheck. $6,300 out. 44 loans. 44! You heard that correct. Down from 45. I paid one off last week. That was fun. It freed up $50 a month. Heck yeah. And this week I had to make some hard decisions, and I let 2 credit cards get put into hardship, and one they closed the account, but they're going to allow me to have an interest-free 60-month loan, and I can pay them back whenever I want. And how does one acquire 44 loans? Carefully. Just joking. Life. Custody, divorce, gambling addiction, depression. Life happens.
Okay, real quick, because I got a couple more clips from her to get a little bit more context. $6,300 in minimum payments. Minimum. $75,000 a year in minimum payments. 44 loans, and the excuse is that life happens. So I'll just roll the next clip before we get into it a little bit deeper.
Did you know about the interest before you took the first one? No. When you're taking out these loans, you're not thinking about the interest. You're thinking, when you take out these types of loans, it's because you're in a very, very desperate situation. And I feel like these companies probably use that to their advantage a little bit. I'm sitting in a casino thinking, oh my gosh, how on earth am I going to pay my bills? That's what these loans were for me. It was a desperation thing. It wasn't like I was sitting there going, oh, man, I'm signing a 539% interest. And honestly, a lot of these companies, when you look, like when you go through, they don't show you the interest rate because it probably make you stop and pause. It literally, on a lot of these companies, you just go through, you scroll down, you click that you're signing your name, and then you go through like 5 documents. So unless you're like reading over these types of loans with a fine-tooth comb, you're not going to know the interest, because they make it to where that is not very upfront. Because all of these for me have been online. I haven't gone to like any like physical places. These have all been online loans. But anyway, yeah. So the answer is no. I did not pay attention to the interest. Have a good day.
Okay, so right off the bat, 500% interest rate is payday loans, like loan shark people. And I thought in the first clip she was joking around. She's like laughing, it's lighthearted, which is like a double-edged sword, especially for such a serious topic like massive credit card debt that she's in. But I didn't take it seriously when she was talking about being in the casino. So she's legitimately a gambling addict and has said it a couple times, and that's what I believe that most of this debt is actually from. Not divorce and bills, because $6,000 in minimum payment, what could you even need to purchase to get loans that large and have that ridiculous of an interest, where your only option, I guess, was to get payday loan shark type people to get involved instead of just getting normal bank loans? Would still like screw you over, but it wouldn't be 500% interest. Unsurprisingly, especially putting all of this stuff online, she has gotten a decent amount of flack for it.
Jess, I used to be an 850 credit score. That might shock you. I'm not financially illiterate. I just made dumb decisions. And I'm working to correct those. Can we please be kind, though?
I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't believe the 850 credit score. This isn't a couple of dumb decisions being made and spiraling into $75,000 worth of minimum payments per year. And being financially illiterate, I mean, she admitted it herself. She just took a whole bunch of loans and did not read any of the fine print, so she had no idea that there were 536% interest on loans. So I don't think that this could really happen to somebody with literally a perfect credit score and who is financially literate. And because of that, she's gotten a decent amount of hate. However, when you put all of this online and her entire TikTok is basically centered around this, so her entire following is just because she has put herself into 6 figures worth of debt, you know you're going to get flack from people and criticism. I mean, yeah, it sucks that people are mean online, but people are going to criticize you with their anonymous username, and there's nothing you can really do about it. And I feel like you just kind of have to accept that if you're willing to put something online, especially as serious as this, when a lot of her content, it kind of makes a joke out of it. She's laughing, she's like messing around, when this is a very serious issue.
That never gets old. Hey, at least I'm somewhat centered today.
So I mean, 25 Affirm loans. We already talked about the buy now, pay later stuff in previous videos and her kind of making a joke out of it. I mean, you know you're going to get some people who don't like you online, but we have a comment from one of you guys that I'm going to go back to several times in this video. People refuse to take responsibility for their own spending habits. The brokest people I know are also the people that buy DoorDash at least once a day. So this first sentence could be put to almost any clip in this entire video. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and we're going to be saying this over and over again throughout this video.
Beloved, I know your credit card bill is high. Okay, so listen to me. Lock in. This is how we're going to save money and also get that dopamine hit, because oftentimes we don't really want the thing. We want the dopamine we've attached to it. Oh no, I love a list, and this is my list titled Impulse Avoidance, and here's how it goes. So this is the thing that I wanted, the thing that I almost impulse bought, added to cart, almost checked out. The day that I found it or added it to cart, and then how much it was. If your list gets long like mine, you're not going to shame yourself, right? Because we live in an age where we're constantly being sold to. That is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to make sure you keep yourself in track for your financial goals. At the end of the month, my date here is wrong. You're going to add up this entire column of everything it would have cost. This month alone, and the month is not over, I almost impulse bought $750 worth of stuff. So at the end of the month, whatever my number adds up to, I'm going to divide it in half. Half is going to go into savings. Half I'm going to do whatever I want with. Half is important because you're honoring your commitment to save and then also rewarding yourself for that. And that is where the dopamine hit comes from.
Okay, so there's some things that I agree with and some that I don't in this clip. Now, I think it's a very good idea to do the Excel spreadsheet of all the impulse buying. And like she said, it is strictly impulse. It's just for the dopamine hit. As soon as you get your little knickknack or your random product from Amazon after a couple days, you're like, this kind of sucks. There's no reason why I got it. It was just the thrill of clicking buy online or going to a store and seeing something that you like and instantly purchase it. So I do like that you could actually bullet point the $750 you would have lost throughout the month. But doing the 50-50 split on all of the crap that you really didn't need and then taking half of that and still getting that dopamine hit won't really fix the problem. We could go very deep into the delayed gratification and all of that. But I mean, at that point, you're getting close to an addiction that doesn't really take away the dopamine hit and the want to constantly buy items you really don't need. So maybe it should be like a 90-10 split. So if you really still want to buy like one dumb thing a month, that'd be fine. But the 50-50 was still $375. I don't know about you, but that's almost an extra $100 a week. That's a decent amount of money. Now up next, we have a comment that, oh man, was from one of my older videos. I just have to read it. Can't blame women for spending because we have a lot of upkeep. We need to normalize men paying for women's lifestyles, and ultimately it will benefit men. This is on my doom spending video, by the way, which is just a ton of people being even worse than what we're going to see in this video, because it's just the mindless consumption. It's not even just getting into credit card debt because they bought a car, student tuitions, paying for rent or a mortgage, something like that. It's just really, really dumb Amazon shopping. I think I should just let this comment speak for itself. You could put whatever you want in the comments down below. Just gonna leave it here and we're gonna move on to the next clip. And this one is a series of screenshots from a post on TikTok helping my wife pay off all of her debt in under 2 years, $27K on her car, $13,000 in credit card debt, and $20,000 in student loans, in total being $60,000. Now, I'm not saying that this post is the problem, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to help out your wife with credit card debt. I just thought the comments were very interesting. Why aren't all husbands like this? With 1,500 likes. I just thought it was very interesting, especially when there are poor financial decisions made, it turns into the husband's problems. And why aren't all husbands like this and paying off $60,000 worth of poor decision making? I just thought that was pretty funny. Now, we finally found one person in this next clip that is actually taking responsibility for their actions. Very, very rare to see in all of social media, to be honest.
If you don't know, my husband and I are $50,000 in credit card debt, and here's why we won't file for bankruptcy. I get asked this a lot, and filing for bankruptcy is also recommended by so many people. One of the main reasons why we really haven't even considered that is because we got ourselves into this mess, and so we also need to get ourselves out. What I have seen often from people's own stories is that they file for bankruptcy and then they find themselves back in the same place, which for me means that, yeah, you can file for bankruptcy, but what does that do for your behaviors?
So this woman is ahead of most people online, especially people who get very lucky, which we'll see in a couple clips from now, getting out of debt, or the previous stuff that we saw in the comments, like that woman wanting a husband to pay off all of her debts. Same for a lot of the people who will go and declare bankruptcy. You're not changing your behaviors. You're just basically getting a slap on the wrist, getting all of that debt wiped out, and then you could just restart doing the same thing over and over again. It will most likely happen and you'll go back into credit card debt and you'll stay in that cycle for the rest of your life. So at least we have somebody with a level head. I mean, they did get themselves into a hole, but they are getting themselves out without just pushing the reset button like so many doom spenders are. At least we got one of these in this video, right? But now we go back into the thick of it. We got another post from TikTok, things I regret putting on my credit card. $800 in Roblox. I mean, what could you, it's just cosmetics, right? And it's like rip-off Legos. $800? $33 in Starbucks, which in comparison is not that bad. I just didn't understand the little comment inflation Starbucks. I don't know what that means. Over $1,000 in a limited edition Lego, which if you really wanted to spin it, Legos are very expensive and very sought after. So limited edition ones, even though $1,000 seems crazy, Legos are ridiculously expensive in general now for literally plastic blocks. But limited edition stuff can actually resell for a lot of money. So we could try to hope that this limited edition Lego was resold for more money because it was sought after. I'm trying to be glass half full, but then we'll get into the rest of it. $5,600 for monthly rent in NYC. I've already talked about it a million times with New York. You want to pay almost $6,000 a month to rent an apartment in NYC instead of getting a what is that, $600,000 house? That's fine. That's your decision. It just won't be mine. $4,270 on an infrared sauna. I don't even know what that is, but I'm just saying right now that $4,000 for whatever this thing is probably is not worth it. And almost $43,000 for their tuition on top of the $6,000. What is that, like $55,000 in total? And just one particular comment got to me, which was on the first slide. Roblox, so real. How is that relatable? Who's spending $800 on Roblox? I have spent my entire life playing video games, probably a couple thousand hours into Fortnite during its peak, and during that entire time I spent money to get the very first battle pass, and if you completed it, you got enough V-Bucks to buy the next battle pass. So that was the entirety of my spending on that game alone, even though I spent literally weeks of my life playing that game. And to try to make $800 in Roblox relatable just seems ridiculous to me. We have another one that is NYC related. Seems like it's a pretty common thing with people in debt, surprising.
So I moved to New York last spring and decided, you know what, I'm gonna have the best summer ever because my life just sucked in 2022. And I was like, you know what,
I'm just gonna enjoy myself. So I did. I blew all my savings, put a bunch of money on my credit card, and yeah, the summer ended and I was $10,000 in debt.
I don't understand how that's an okay excuse. Just because your life sucked for a while, that it's okay to destroy all of your savings, however much that was, and to get yourself into 5 figures worth of debt. Was it really worth it for one summer to be $10,000 in debt, along with already living in one of the most expensive places to live in the world? Like, we could go back to the comment earlier. People refuse to take responsibility for their own spending habits. How is this okay to do? Just because your life wasn't going perfectly, it's okay to just destroy your future financially? Especially right now with a lot of people hurting. I don't think too many people's lives are absolute sunshine and rainbows right now, but it doesn't mean that that's the excuse to use to completely decimate your credit score and your financial future. So this one, we actually have somebody getting out of debt. Unfortunately, it was from complete luck, which is, I would say, very, very uncommon.
About 7 years ago, I had $52,000 in credit card debt, $28,000 in student loans, an $18,000 car note, and an $18,000 loan on my 401k. If you're good at math, you're gonna know we're talking 6 figures of debt and a shit ton of stress. How did I get out of this debt? Well, I can't really give a straightforward answer because it was a mix of accidental smart money decisions and luck. This was before my financial literacy era when I actually learned how to manage money. So just assume I didn't know shit. Long story short, I saved up to buy a condo. It went up in value by 40% in 3 years, and I sold it for $210,000 of profit without having to pay any capital gains taxes.
Okay, so I'm going to ignore everything other than the $52,000 in credit card debt, which was clearly the most amount of debt, but her getting extremely lucky with a condo that went up in value a ton got her out of that hole when she sold it, which she admitted was not on purpose. She wasn't trying to flip the property in a new up and coming area. It was complete luck. These are the type of people to get right back into debt. They get extremely lucky, or they have somebody else pay their debt off, or they declare bankruptcy, and then they could just restart this cycle. I don't think that she actually did this, but this specific scenario, I could see a lot of other people just thinking that they dodged a bullet, and then they get right back into it and start digging their grave again. The next post we're going to look at is somebody just like that, honestly. Instead of changing her behavior and spending habits, she decides that you should just become a social media influencer. I just paid off over $13K in credit card debt without saving money or changing my lifestyle one bit. How did I rack up $13K in debt, you might ask? Probably eating like that. I almost bought a house in 2022 that got me a few grand in debt. All right, whatever. That sucks, but at least it's not that bad. And then when that fell through, I moved into an apartment that was 3 times my previous rent. Why? Is that similar to like the woman who said that her life sucked in 2022, so she got herself into 5 figures worth of debt for one summer in New York City? Like, you just felt bad and just wanted to burn a whole ton of money? I didn't change my spending habits literally at all. LOL. Hilarious. How did I pay for all of it without cutting back or saving money? One word: TikTok. Great. Amazon storefront, brand deals, creator funds. This is exactly what I was talking about in previous videos with the walking billboard influencers we were seeing that were completely out of touch. Their entire life was just consumerism and brand deals and trying to get you to buy the products that they're promoting over and over and over every single day. So this is her advice for a way out of it. Just everybody become the next wannabe Kardashian. I'm not posting to brag, I'm posting to inspire. Yeah, sure, okay. But was I gonna stop going to expensive dinners and getting fun drinks with the girls? Never. Again, as soon as whatever money she's making right now dries up, guaranteed going right back into the hole. You don't need to spend less, you just need to get on your Zoom. And then the comment section is just as bad as this post. Love this for you, praying for this, praying to become a billboard for all of these makeup companies and fashion brands and trying to get people to just buy and consume more and more. Love this, baby, I'm clocking in. Love this for you. I just did the same and paid everything off. As if you could just decide to be an influencer and it instantly works. Yes, the opportunity to make money online is unbelievably huge now, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to be successful. If Say if literally everybody did this and everybody became an influencer, made some sort of content online, then there would be nobody to consume it. Not everybody could do this, and even if you try to become this, it isn't 100% that your brand or your type of content will take off and you'll actually be able to make enough money to get yourself out of the debt that you put yourself into. So this advice would just be dangerous for a lot of people to not actually change the way that they act, to just try to become another lifestyle influencer and hopefully make enough money to pay off all the copious amounts of spending that you do on a regular basis. Now this one, we have a clip from a woman who I just thought was funny because I think my entire train of thought is the exact opposite of this.
If I have learned anything about the vibration of money, is that it is an avoidant. It is an avoidant energy, and if you try to chase it too much, it's gonna run away from you. So when I start like working and striving because of the money, like if I start posting content specifically out of scarcity, like I need the money, I need the money, I need the clients, I need da-da-da. Or if I'm going out to coffee or to breakfast or to get food and I'm looking at the price tags, if I'm obsessively looking at money and focusing on money, it runs away from me. But if I go to the grocery store and I don't look at the price tags of things, my balance is actually probably $100 cheaper than it is when I'm looking at the price tags of things. And when I post content just because I love to post this, then it makes me feel good, and I'm not thinking about the financial income of that, then money starts pouring in for me.
Okay, so maybe this works for you, but for me, I am the exact opposite like this. When I finally started heavily focusing on my sneaker business reselling during COVID and quit my part-time job and obsessively went through numbers and how much money was coming in, coming out every single day, the returns, everything. It was like an obsession. I made more money than I ever did in my entire life. There were also other avenues that I was able to get sneakers that I was obsessive over. And because of that, I was able to beat out my competition and make more money and get more shoes and literally do everything the opposite of what she has done. So maybe it's worked for her, but at least for me, I look at the prices of everything that I go and buy. I am pretty obsessive with the budgeting. And because of that, I've been able to save and make a lot more money than I probably would have if I was just completely aloof. And I think she's trying to equate this to a lot of the relationship advice where, say, if you're constantly going on dates and trying to find a boyfriend or girlfriend, it doesn't work out a lot of the time, and when you kind of step back and focus on yourself, somebody will come into your life, and that's kind of the similarity she's trying to do with money. I just don't think it works, at least in my opinion, and especially not looking at price tags of things that they're buying that could go down the same rabbit hole of buying random crap on Amazon or at the store and impulse buying. And all of these $10, $15, $30, $35 items add up very quickly and start getting you into debt. So up next, we have probably one of the most level-headed clips of somebody being in debt this entire video. So it's pretty refreshing from the madness we've listened to so far.
Why do you have so much debt at 20, dude?
Yeah.
What have you done?
$26,000 is on my car. The rest of it is all credit cards. The biggest chunk of it all really started whenever I was out of a job for about 2 months. I was putting all of the rent, all of the food, everything on just credit cards. I had a decent job. My roommate had a kind of shaky job, and then he didn't have a job. For the first few months, he was getting money from like his parents or family or whatever, trying to make his part, but that's not sustainable. So, you know, I had to start picking up his half. There was a 2-month period where neither of us had a job, so.
And how was that conversation with the roommate when you were taking on all the bills?
We had the same conversation of me just being like, you gotta figure out a way, and then there was no way being figured out. So
Did you get fired?
Yes. So I was trying to quit. I wanted to quit, but I didn't want to just like leave them because they were short staffed. We had stuff coming up. So I was like, okay, I'll quit in a month or two or something like that. But then like after a couple weeks, they said that my head wasn't in it anymore.
All right. So I would venture to guess that something happened at his job that he's not telling us, because he was trying to quit when he was already in $20,000+ worth of debt. So that's probably not the best thing to do. And then he was let go for not being in the right headspace. Something must have happened. He's just not saying. But either way, I'd probably try to keep at least some sort of employment, as I'm actively in 5 figures plus worth of debt. I don't know how that situation would ever get any better. Now we got a clip from a woman that has just a lot of talking points, so we'll just go through it very quickly.
I saw a
video of a gal talking about how normalizing credit card debt is extremely irresponsible, and as someone who has had credit card debt, has friends with credit card debt, and sees like the grander scope of the issue, I want to put my 2 cents in, because this is not an individual issue, this is a systematic issue. These credit card companies are predatory on people who do not have financial literacy, are predatory on people who need the money now. They are set up to exploit these people. It would be a different conversation if we were taught in high school, the school that we are all required to go to, if we were taught financial literacy, how to do our taxes, how to manage money, that would be very different. But that is not the case. This education and information is kept from people intentionally in order to prey upon them. So I think this idea of, oh, well, it's just the individual's problem that they're in credit card debt. No, not necessarily. Given the current situation, look at the US government. The US government is in astronomical amounts of debt. Why is it a bad thing if I am?
Okay, so we're going to start off with it being a systematic issue, and I get it. We've talked about it previously. Credit card companies are very predatory, but that's how they make money, with that interest and trying to get people to spend more and not be able to pay it back. So they get that interest payment, and that's how they make money. So we could go back to that comment again. People refuse to take responsibility for their own spending habits. I know we're in a world of consumerism and social media and buy and getting more and more, but it still is ultimately up to you. It's not like there's a gun to your head forcing you to impulse buy right now. And I think some of the blaming just credit card companies on all of the issues is just deflection. And then the comment about not learning finance in high school, at least with my own experience, I didn't learn it either. Some people did, some people didn't, but I've never been in credit card debt. I learned all of this stuff on my own on the internet because there's unlimited information on here. And I've learned all of my financial knowledge on the internet alone. School didn't teach me at all. So again, I took responsibility and did it all myself. I'm not going to blame the school for just being crappy at teaching, because that seems to be a pretty common issue for my entire generation now. So you got to take it in your own hands. And then the last comment with the US government being a whole ton in debt. I mean, I guess there is a point, but that's a pretty common excuse for a lot of people doom spending. Oh, the government's in trillions of dollars of debt. Why should I care? I'm just going to start buying a whole bunch of crap. Well, even though it isn't fair, I'm going to say that you will be financially ruined way faster than the US government. You're the one not going to be able to get any sort of loan on a car, for rent, or a mortgage. Landlords will look at your credit score and won't approve you, even if you do have the money. It's very, very dangerous to completely go bankrupt just because you're in constant debt, spending all the time, and blaming it and trying to live your life similar to the government will definitely not help you, because they're the ones who could print out unlimited money for free. You will just go completely broke. The next one we have is talking about more credit card companies and somebody who finally got out of debt.
So this morning I did something crazy. I made a credit card payment of $4,536, which completely paid off one of my credit cards. It was a card that I had maxed out when I moved from Kansas to Portland. I wasn't making a lot of money at the time, and I was adjusting to the high cost of living, so I used this credit card to do that. But it's a card that I've been wanting to pay off for a really long time, so I was really happy that I finally had the money to be able to just pay it off completely. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was kind of hoping that after I made the payment that the credit card company would drop down a banner that said congratulations, that balloons would fly into the air and confetti would fall from the sky, and it would just say congratulations on paying off this credit card.
And that's something that will literally never happen. The only way that these credit card companies make money is getting those interest payments when you put yourself in debt. So as soon as you could finally get out of it, they'll do anything in their power to try to get you back into debt. You won't be getting any congratulations or banners. We've seen in previous videos where a woman was paying it off and she was regularly getting credit line increases and emails saying, hey, look, we increased your credit line to be able to fund that next vacation. Like literally word for word, that's what they were saying, trying to pull her back into debt. That's just how it works. That's how these credit card companies will make their money, and you need to be responsible enough to not fall for their tactics. This next one is something that I've seen recently, and I think more people need to take note because of how quickly it racks up and starts burning a hole in your pocket.
So I was spending like $500 on just eating out alone. And on top of that, I also was an alcoholic. And I'm not saying that lightly because yes, I was addicted to alcohol. I was spending close to $200 to $300 just on drinks a month alone.
So, I mean, if you're going out to eat, of course, you're spending more money than to just eat and make your own food at your house. But along with that, getting drinks, getting cocktails, getting IPAs will drastically increase your bill very quickly. So much so that it would almost be better to just get 2 meals for whatever lunch or dinner you're having. Like, that's how expensive you're getting upcharged for this alcohol. I guess it really doesn't matter, and people will still pay an astronomical amount of money for a drink at the bar, and especially if you're not good with money, it could start building up very quickly. So the last one we have here is a post that is an absolute roller coaster because the first picture actually nails it right on the head. Me and my ADHD hyperfixations as they progressively get more manic. So that's not a good start, but it is legitimately just that. So we'll get into it. My own nail tech era to save money, spending $100 on supplies. Next clip, this is half of what I kept to go, and I gave it to my other nail tech who does my acrylic. So all that money that she bought to do it herself to save money, she immediately just gave it to somebody else and then is also paying her to do it for her. So that is just heavily in the red on that one. Bought every possible paint supply from Michael's and use it maybe once a year. Unused 3-year-old canvases, but had to buy it because it was on sale. That is a pretty common problem. Even if it is or is not on sale, it's still cheaper to just not buy it. Spent hundreds on exotic plants. I had bags of soil in my apartment in college dorm. Bought 2 $200 monsteras. I don't know how to say that. I know absolutely nothing about plants. But we start getting into it right here. Actively buying and selling, trading exotic plants with strangers on Facebook. Now, to me, that seems like a pretty heavy niche where not a lot of people know about it. I have zero knowledge of it, but buying and selling exotic plants in the next picture here, literally farming them, this seems like it could actually be something pretty positive. When a lot of people don't know about a particular niche like this and it starts getting a little bit more expensive, this could actually be a pretty solid income. Until we get to the next clip and she bought a plant for $488. She basically just bought a PS5, but if she forgets to water it for a couple days, it'll just die. And then we start going into the other things, wanted to sell jewelry and then made an Instagram that basically didn't exist. Spent $100 on jewelry supplies in Japan because I'd saved so much money, but if you don't sell any of the jewelry, you're still in the red. And then she became a cat woman on social media, turning in and getting another cat, having to take care of 3 cats now again, just more and more money, and that is the end of it. At least at one point I was rooting for her with the odd exotic plants. Seems like it would be a cool niche to actually start making some income, and then the ADHD brain kicked in and they just started scattershotting and ended up losing a whole bunch of money.
Hey y'all, my name's Emily, and I'm coming on here because I'm going to be documenting my debt payoff plan. I am currently $420,000 in debt. It's a pretty gnarly number. Half of that number is my mortgage, so I promise I'm not super irresponsible. Still a little irresponsible, but not super. About a quarter of that is my student loans. About 10% of that is a car payment that I just bought. And the remainder is just general spending like Affirm payments and a credit card. I'm going to be using the avalanche debt payoff method in order to pay that off, which is just starting with the highest interest loan and working my way down. I'm going to be documenting it here on TikTok to hold myself accountable. I hope you'll follow along.
Okay, so we could go through a little bit of the numbers. Half of it we'll say is 210, like she said, with the mortgage taken off right there from her $420,000. And then her student loans are another 6 figures on top of that, which she said was another quarter. So that leaves another $100,000 for everything else. That's the car payment of a brand new car she just got and the credit card debt, the Affirm Afterpay. Buy now, pay later. I've talked about it many times how bad that could be for people. And this has become a very popular video to make. If you watch a couple of these videos on your feed all the way through, or even a decent amount, you could just start swiping and seeing clip after clip of somebody saying the exact same thing. 5-6 figures worth of debt. I'm starting off my debt journey, follow me. And it's just kind of a rinse and repeat. And what I've seen in some accounts, I'm not saying that's what's happening with this woman, but some people are uploading these videos strictly to gain some sort of following. Now, I believe you need 10,000 followers on TikTok to be able to start getting paid. And almost all of these videos end up doing very well. and you gain a lot of followers, get a lot of interaction. And what I think some people are doing is that they're trying to get paid by TikTok enough to start paying off their debts. And of course, these are the videos that get the most amount of views. But then when you start uploading videos after this showing more of the journey, they get less and less views and engagement. Maybe people stop following. It doesn't really go the creator's way and they kind of just stop uploading. I've also seen in some cases that they do a complete 180 and then start trying to sell you products off of the TikTok shop to be able to make money, I guess, to pay off the debt. So like I said, I don't think this is what this woman's doing. I've just seen that it's become a trend for some of the users that have no following whatsoever to use this to be able to gain a sizable audience and then hopefully start making money off of TikTok. So I would just be on the lookout. Maybe some of these accounts are actually trying to sell you something at the end of the day. But we have a comment from one of you guys. One of my cousins got married in the summer of 2020 and is in the process of divorce due to his ex's excessive spending. She kept asking for money for trips. This goes into the social media life now too, of course. He was taking out loans to fund these trips for her. That's insane. And she'd go off without him while he worked his ass off. Now, of course, there could be a couple things that could probably be said about this comment, but of course, one of the biggest contributing factors to divorce is debt, not being able to make enough money. Excessive spending will definitely put you in that situation, along with some other problems that they definitely had in the marriage. But going on vacations now is just unbelievably common for people that don't really have too much money.
I got my first comment today about how I am planning on traveling or I'm traveling, but I also am in debt. I have just under $31,000 in debt between credit card, taxes, car, student loan. And I'm just going to make one thing very clear. I'm going to live my life. I am going to take however much amount of money, whether it's $2,000 that I'm saving up and put it towards travel versus putting it towards my debt. I'm going to do that. I'm 29 years old. I have no kids, no responsibilities aside from my bills, which I pay every month. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go on vacation.
And this is very common with many younger people. Like she said, no responsibilities apparently other than paying bills, which she pays, except the $30,000 of debt she's in. And then I guess anything that's left over from the current bills that she's paying just goes right into a vacation. And then the excuse is always, you know, oh, I'll make more money when I'm older somehow. And I guess that'll outpace all the interest accruing to the current debts that you have. And then you'll just be able to live happily ever after, I guess. We have a comment from you that I think goes well with both the previous clip and the next clip. These are the same people that will be complaining about having no retirement funds in 30 years. I don't know how people around my age don't see the writing on the wall when we're talking about boomers right now who are around the retirement age struggling to be able to survive when we're in way worse of a situation right now. I mean, just getting out of high school, 18 to like even the millennials, 35, 40 years old, 45. It'll be way harder for us to be able to retire. So just blowing all of your money while also being irresponsible and in debt already kind of just sets you on a life path that you can't really change after a while. And we'll talk about that in a future video with older generations talking about their financial issues around the retirement age.
How old are you and how much do you have in savings?
I'm 21 and I'm actually in a lot of debt because I just went traveling.
You know, did you spend all your money in travels or was it other things as well?
Travel, buying a car, all different things, yeah.
And have you ever wanted to save up for something in particular?
Yes, yeah. Buying a house on the northern beaches.
Do you think it's within reach?
Not so much at the moment, but I'm trusting God in my finances. So.
Okay, that's fair, fair. And so what do you think you're going to have to do to have to save up for that?
Probably invest, hey. Probably invest my money, yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I don't think God's gonna be sending you envelopes full of cash when you basically don't really have a plan other than, oh, I should probably invest. You could tell the way that she wasn't serious about really anything other than traveling and being in debt in this clip, that especially for somebody in Australia where the housing market, you think any of the stuff in the US is bad. Oh, you are basically screwed over there. There's no chance you're gonna be able to just fall into a situation where you could be able to pay for the normal American type dream. I mean, Australians have the same thing. The house, the car, the family, the dog, without having very serious financial planning for your future. And I know people right off the bat will start saying, you know, the experience of having vacations, I'd rather do that than have a whole bunch of money on my deathbed. And I'm not saying you're supposed to absolutely hoard every single penny that you make in your entire life, but when you already put yourself in a financial situation where you have 5 or 6 figures worth of debt, adding on top of the fact that my generation's going to have even more of a difficult time to just have what boomers and Gen X had, working a normal factory or 9-to-5 job back then. Once we start hitting the 50s and 60s, there's going to be no chance that you'd be able to retire and have a normal, chill life and be able to do whatever you want until you finally pass away. So I mean, I'm making these videos to hopefully open some people's eyes and at least try to start saving some sort of money, paying off the debt, because the interest rates are brutal and you will be in that cycle forever. Now I know I feel like I've gotten pretty serious already. We have one that is kind of funny, maybe lighten the mood a little bit.
If you're in debt, guys, don't worry. I have two solutions. One, get your life together and pay it. Or you can dance. I think I'm gonna go with dance.
I think that's all the audio that I could play right now without getting copyrighted, but I did think that was kind of funny. Some of the comments are pretty rough to see though. $425,000. Sorry, government, I danced it away. Oh man, could you imagine having almost $500,000 in debt? I hope it's like all of it is basically just a mortgage and not some sort of credit card debt or something like that, or a car payment. Did you spend $175,000 on dance classes because you're killing it? If anybody has $182,000 I could borrow, that'd be lovely. That's actually from the creator. I didn't even see that the first time. I just realized I've been talking for a while and I have so many clips to go over. I don't think we're gonna be able to get through all of them.
So I recently got married. I've been with my now wife for about 10 years. She's going to graduate dental school in May. She's bringing in about $750,000 in student loans.
Lord.
Other than that, she's got a
I'm sorry. What is her degree? What did she go with $750,000 in debt for?
Dentist.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it's a good school, but it's expensive.
You have no idea what you just said.
Yeah. I've got about $40,000 in debt from what seems like you guys call normal debt, credit cards, car, stuff like that. I mean, she's gonna make good money, but it's just I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's how do we dig ourselves out of that hole?
Okay, so I wanted to put in this clip because I do have a little bit more experience. On top of a previous video, we did do a little research. I think the average amount of debt for dental school, like all said and done, I think was around $400,000. So $750,000, way over it. And I know everybody makes the excuse that apparently as soon as you walk out of dental school, you're immediately making $200,000 a year, which just is not the case, because one of my friends is actually doing the exact same thing, being a dentist, and he's worked at a dental office even before going into dental school. And I mean, unfortunately, the amount of time and effort it would take to start making that money, maybe starting your own practice, he was actively being told by the dentist to go into some sort of other degree, because the amount of time it actually takes to start really making that kind of money, on top of paying off all of your debts and then being able to live that, upper class lifestyle, is such a long way down the road, on top of going to dental school, which is already on top of getting a bachelor's degree at a 4-year university. The amount of time, man. I mean, I guess you could turn into someone like this. They're finally out of it. They got all their degrees. They're ready to go. And in total, as a couple, they're in $800,000 worth of debt. It just really doesn't seem worth it to me, honestly, unless you, for some reason, have a passion in cleaning teeth, even though I think it's widely known that one of the most hated jobs is being a dentist, because whoever wants to go to the dentist, it's never a good time. But we'll transition into probably one of the dumbest ones, at least in my opinion, for this entire video.
Here's a guy who actually spends money on OnlyFans subscriptions, because you probably don't know a single one, at least to your knowledge. He asked me to keep it anonymous. I'm not gonna make it anonymous. His name is Jared Rose. First of all, his income is $65K, but his budget is $78K. He's got credit card debt, but he's got no choices. So of course he's gotta pay taxes, and of course he's gotta pay rent, but with that credit card bill, looks like you're being evicted soon, buddy. So last year, OnlyFans made $5 billion. 5 with a B. Billion. And you might be wondering, who is spending $5 billion on OnlyFans? Well, there you have it. Here's one example of a dude, because clearly he doesn't go outside. Let's say that the average OnlyFans subscription is about $10 a month. We're looking at $120 a year. This dude spends $24K, so $240,000 divided by $120,000. We're looking at 200 different girls or guys. I'm not judging. I hope the custom content requests or making your heart warm, man?
We got to look at the comments before I talk about it. $24,000 on a $65,000 salary is crazy. That's insane. A girlfriend is cheaper. It legitimately is, honestly. And Twitter is free, man. Now, that's what I was going to say. I know all of us have probably heard how bad this is to watch. Completely unrealistic expectations for normal real life interaction. So you consuming this for hours on end, spending almost $25,000 a year on girls, a girlfriend would never be able to compete with that, and you're basically frying your brain for the rest of your life. If you really did want to watch those videos, we are on the internet. You could look up whatever you want at a click of a button for free. I know it, you could find whatever you want. It does not matter. And you don't have to pay a single penny. So spending all of this money is probably the stupidest form of debt that I've seen in this entire series. I really don't get some people. And of course, a majority of the OF stuff is, of course, guys. It's just absolutely the dumbest spending. Here we have another comment from one of you guys. Man, I really hope that Klarna IPOs soon. They're saying they're trying to get into the stock market, and it just seems like a money printer. People just don't understand that it's a credit card and no different. Yet they treat it like it is and spend more for some reason. It's got to be a psychological thing when you could buy, you know, something that's $100 online and then you see 4 easy payments of $25. There's got to be something that switches and they'll believe that it's only $25. You know, it's way cheaper, or I could buy even more stuff. There's no interest. But all you got to do is miss one single payment and then you start the snowball. And if you did that because you bought 4 times the amount of stuff that you probably should have, because you put them in payments and then you ended up just consuming even more, you could most likely get into even higher amounts of debt compared to a normal credit card. But we're going to transition into a couple clips that I've seen about bankruptcy. It's just unbelievable to me.
I got approved for a credit card 4 days after my bankruptcy discharged. All the paperwork I received from credit card offers and everything, which I was very, very selective on which one I took. I made sure I took one with a decent interest rate, you know, less than 36%, which is pretty much what everybody was offering. It's like 0%, whatever, it doesn't matter. But for your question, it was after I discharged and it was 4 days after.
So this is somebody who went bankrupt, and just from that clip seems like she will end up going back into debt again. Apparently, you could find some sort of credit card just days after. So that's how we see all of these crazy stories that seem unreal on TikTok or social media, where somebody's just been in cycles of debt for years and years, going bankrupt and doing it over and over again, because apparently you could go and just start racking it up again less than a week out of bankruptcy. But from what she said with the credit cards trying to justify it, saying that she found something that was less than 36% interest, what she's thinking in her mind is that she could go back into debt again. So she was trying to find the lowest amount of interest. Honestly, I don't care if any of my credit cards, they could have 1,000% interest. I have never missed a payment and never even think of spending more money than I should have, so the interest doesn't really bother me. But her thinking about the interest rates a week after being bankrupt, she's still in the same mindset of she's probably going to spend more money than she earns, which then will bring her back into the cycle, and she'll be doing this for the rest of her life. So again, I don't know if that clip will get copyrighted. She was speaking over it, but there was a couple things. We filed 3 weeks ago and already have a new car. So on top of the less than a week it took to get a credit card, I guess you could just start buying brand new cars as well. And this woman was happy about it. Like, it's just the easiest reset button. There are no consequences, no ramifications. And something that I also thought was interesting was the sound that she used. So a couple months ago when I made an I'm Just a Girl video talking about how detrimental that could be, of course, for women in debt, justifying crazy purchases, or just really belittling the entire gender as if they're not able to be financially responsible just because they're a woman. And she used the sound, the I'm Just a Girl trend sound, under this clip talking about buying a brand new car right after they were bankrupt. So I mean, it just perpetuates the stereotype and just makes everybody look even worse. Some of the comments as well are crazy. We just got a new car during our Chapter 7 bankruptcy, right after we filed, but before it was discharged. We filed filed in February this year. Everything was finished in June. Best decision ever. We kept our house and cars. It's a fresh start. No accountability whatsoever. It really does end up being pretty frustrating to me, but we have a comment that is more level-headed. What I've learned as an adult who has to manage and spend money, that even if you see others with more luxury items, they're probably in so much debt owning those things. I'm content with being average. I know that people who are very, very legitimately wealthy don't really want to show it because it almost puts a target on their back. So when we see people in head-to-toe luxury, most likely they're just putting on a show for other people. And of course, because of social media, the more rich you look in a clip or a video or a photo, the more views you get. So you just ante up. Every single creator trying to outdo the other ones and then keeping up with the Joneses, and just makes everybody poor in the end.
I'm 22 years old and I have $37,515 worth of credit debt. I also have a $7,992 student loan. I also still owe $55,829 on my car. In total, I have about $100,000 worth of debt. If you're anything like me, you haven't made any credit card payments in over 6 months. You have creditors calling you every single day.
Now, the comment section is a bit different than what I've seen on most of these clips. I think it's because of how expensive the car was and how young she actually is, on top of not paying for 6 months. So the interest rates, oh man, those banks are cooking right now. Because honestly, the comment section is not very nice. What do you need a $50,000 car for? A 55 on a car? Student loans being the cheapest is so baffling to me. Honestly, that comment is 100% right. Most of the time, it's a mortgage and student loans that really explode the debt counter on most people's situations, but it's the exact opposite with this one. This might be the product of absolute stupidity, because how? I mean, people are not nice. And we have another comment from you with another young person. As a dumb 19-year-old, I signed up for a TJ Maxx credit card. When I asked the cashier if it was a credit card, she kept saying it was a member's card. And I went with it. After I realized it was a credit card, I paid it off, cut it up, and never looked at it again. And the account was eventually closed. And that's how maybe you could get suckered into the beginning of credit card debt, because I think I've used this example before, but I know Best Buy has a credit card, and it's very easy to walk into Best Buy and buy a couple electronics and spend a ton of money. So they'll have some sort of promotion where if you sign up for the credit card, you use the Best Buy credit card, you could get 10% off this purchase. And it actually brings many people in because they could save some money. But in the same way, like we've seen with the previous clips, if you don't pay it off, especially for 6 months, like the last one, you saving maybe $100 or $200 on your first purchase won't outweigh the interest payments in the long run.
I'm going to talk to you about everything that I had to pay, what my payment is, etc. So for a 2024 Tesla Model Y, our out of the door total was around $44,000. We got the $7,500 EV tax credit at the point of sale. When you see that on the website, think of it as a coupon. When you go to the store and you get a coupon, you get that discount. That EV credit is at the point of sale if I think you make under $150,000 a year or $300 as a couple. So it was around $44,000 that I financed. We both did an 84-month loan. We got a 3.99 interest rate, and our payment was, I think mine is $607 and his like $602. And we did 0 down. And that is what made sense for us. For you, you might want to do a bigger down payment.
Yeah, I'd say a down payment would be nice. Even with the very low interest rate, at least in comparison to right now, 4%, financing for 84 months is still $600 a month because you didn't put anything down. And I don't know if they got 2 of these, because she said hers was 602 and her husband's was 607. So did they get 2 Model Ys? Because I don't think that this thing is $1,200 a month. That would be absolutely unbelievable for a $44,000 car. So I'm guessing they had to have gotten 2 of them. But we could look at some of the comments, and the first one I actually do really agree with now. I would lease an electric car. Technology is changing too fast to be stuck in an obsolete car at the end of the loan, especially at 84 months. I know we've talked about the car market a million times, especially the EV market is taking a hit right now because it's not nearly as cool as it was 3 years ago. And on top of it, the technology really is changing, even with the most popular electric cars. Of course, the Teslas, compared to like any of the Fords or Chevy electric cars that have really, really bad resale value. If you look at older Teslas that have the older technology, the older battery, not as good range, you could still get them on on the secondhand market for very cheap. So who's to say that in 84 months, when they're finally done with this loan, technology advanced even more and maybe they do 500 or 600 miles worth of range or something along the lines of that and blows out of the water anything that's coming out today. So you spending $600 a month for 84 months just to try to roll it into another car or just sell it on your own, and it would be worth virtually nothing. So if you really do want these types of cars, I actually think that leasing it would probably be the way. I know it's just renting the car, but with how fast the technology has been changing, it is kind of a dangerous game now to have some sort of EV, even if it's only 5 years old. Here we have another comment, 84 months is crazy work for a car loan. You'll still be upside down after 5 years of payment. Are we really trying to normalize 72 to 84 months car loans? And that's exactly what dealerships are trying to do. That's honestly what everybody was saying in the comment section. 84-month loan, that's way too long. At least in comparison, if you did watch any of the car payment videos, $600 is pretty low compared to some people who are paying 4 figures. I mean, $2,000 a month, absolutely nuts. But over the long run, $600 a month for 84 months is still nothing that I want to mess with.
I get asked literally all the time how the hell I was able to accumulate $50,000 of credit card debt in like a 6-year span. But I was very naive with the fact of, I know I was going to be making more money, right? I was 18 years old, got my first job as a dental assistant, making $28,000 a year. But I was obviously spending way above my means. So when I got into $50,000 of debt, this was not like over a 1-2 year span. No, it started off small. My very first credit card, the limit was only like $250, right? And then as you start using it, they start to give you more credit. And then as you start to get more credit, you're like, oh, this is cool. Let me get another card. Oh, this one's got a cash back card. Let me get another card. And the next thing I knew, I had like 4 credit cards. I had like a Victoria's Secret card. I had an Amazon card. Like I had all these cards, okay? And I kept telling myself, I know I'm going to be making more money. I know I'm going to be making $100,000 a year. When I make more money, I'm going to pay these off. When I make more money, like I'm already going to live my life the way as if I was already making that kind of money, because I just knew it was inevitable for me. But what I did not realize is the more money I started to make, it didn't matter. That is when the big amounts of debt came in. I didn't have 50 grand of debt when I was 19, making $28,000 a year. No, when I started making over $100,000 a year was when it started to pile on so freaking fast.
So there you go, the definition of lifestyle creep. While you were already in debt at the beginning, only making the $28,000 a year and making that promise to yourself when you did hit 6 figures that all the debt would just be paid off, it's most likely not going to happen. It's actually just going to get worse. Here we have a string of comments that go well with the next bunch of clips. I will never understand why people are essentially bragging about being in debt on social media. How embarrassing. And then the reply, I think part of it is them trying to recoup the cost either through sympathy or some sort of brand deals. Now we're starting to see it a little bit more. Another reply, are you new to 2024? People film all sorts of L's to put it online. Attention is a drug. So we could go real quick to this user who does a budgeting paycheck type of series on her TikTok.
It's Friday, my husband got paid, so let's budget our paycheck. This week, he barely got anything. He got $1,074.21.
So she has gotten a little heat in the comment section for the way that she speaks about her paychecks and her husband's paychecks. You know, our paycheck is crazy. Our paycheck is so toxic. So what did you make? I mean, this wasn't really the reason why I put this in the video. You could come to your own conclusions and your own opinions, but she has this sort of financial series of her getting out of debt and making the payments and budgeting. But unfortunately, what I said at the beginning of the video has started to happen, where she got enough money where she was making some off of TikTok and then started getting a whole bunch of the products to try to sell to you to make those commissions, the affiliates, and be able to make more money. And some of the consequences of doing that she put in this video.
Make the same mistake that I did. I just barely got accepted into TikTok Shop, and I was so excited about all the free samples and all of that I got a little too ahead of myself, and I started just clicking things that like, I was like, that's cool, that's like something I want. Except I don't want to showcase this one. And let me show you why. Let's open it up. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't go with my niche at all. It doesn't go along with what I want to post about. So, a women's electric shaver. So, I will try it out, and then I'll let you know. Like, I just thought this was like was like, dang, this is so cool, da-di-da-di-da. And I don't want to showcase this, but here we are. I'll test it out.
So this was the kind of stuff that I was afraid of, because now she's starting to just try to sell products to be able to make a little bit more money to her viewers, where she doesn't even want to do it. It doesn't relate to any of what she does on her channel at all, but she's still going to try to sell it to you. And I know the sponsored post or like in-video ads is kind of a touchy subject right now. At least for me, it's got to be some sort of product that the creator legitimately uses or could be a benefit to their audience in some sort of way, at least. But I do know that some creators, that's basically how they make a living, because maybe their YouTube videos aren't monetizable, they're not family friendly, so the only way that they're actually getting money is through those in-video sponsors. And I guess in a way I do understand, but that's why I haven't taken any sponsorships yet on this channel. I legitimately want it to be related to the content that I make or something that I actually use, and that's why I've talked about before actually using some of the sponsored stuff without being sponsored, like the VPNs, like Rocket Money or Delete Me, even though that's probably pretty bad business on my side, because I'm basically giving them a shout out for free. But I don't like seeing a lot of the finance videos that circle around debt and them trying to get out of it, gaining an audience that have similar issues, and then you kind of just turn around and start selling them random products that have nothing to do with your page.
I was in major credit card debt, about $62,000 to my credit card, and this was when I was working 9 to 5. I was so living above my means. I was driving the cars that I couldn't afford, I was buying the things that I couldn't afford, and I would just put it on a credit card because I thought it was like free money. Absolutely no idea what it meant by budgeting, financial means, saving for the future. All of that just went out my head. And while I was in college, I was so confused. I was racking up all of these student loans debt, and I just thought, oh, future me can worry about it. This resulted me in depression, anxiety, and towards my 20s, I had to rebuild this entire life around money and heal my money trauma.
So this is another very similar situation to the woman who is the dental assistant. Now, even though we're seeing stories of people getting into pretty bad debt and having their life kind of revolve around it from now on, I hope that at least some people, especially the younger generations who are on TikTok the most, could see this and hopefully dodge a bullet in their life, seeing how bad some people have messed up, and hopefully not make the same mistakes. Because honestly, that's the exact reason why I upload these videos, seeing how crazy some of these stories could get, so you could steer clear of any of these issues, or at least give you motivation to dig yourself out of the hole. So that's all I got for you guys today. I don't want to make this video way too long. It seems like it's already going to be pretty long anyway, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.